The room had been locked since the day they got married. For 3 years, her husband never let her enter. Not once. Whenever she asked about it, he smiled and changed the subject. Whenever she got curious, he would simply say, "It's just an old storage room." And because she loved him, she trusted him. Until the day he forgot to lock the door. What she found inside didn't just destroy her marriage. It made her question whether she had ever truly known the man she married. When Emily first met Daniel, he seemed perfect. He was charming, successful, kind. The kind of man who remembered birthdays, opened doors, and made everyone around him feel special. Their relationship moved quickly. Within a year, they were engaged. 6 months later, they were married. Friends called them the perfect couple. Even Emily's parents adored him. For the first 2 years, everything felt like a dream. They bought a beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood, traveled together, hosted dinner parties, talked about having children. Life seemed almost too good to be true. And maybe it was, because hidden inside that beautiful house was one mystery Emily could never understand. A locked room. The room was located at the end of the upstairs hallway. It wasn't large, just an ordinary room with a heavy wooden door. But it was always locked. Always. At first, Emily didn't think much about it. Everyone has private belongings. Everyone deserves personal space. But over time, Daniel's behavior became strange. Whenever he entered the room, he made sure she wasn't nearby. If she walked down the hallway unexpectedly, he would immediately close the door. Sometimes she heard noises coming from inside late at night. Not loud noises, just subtle sounds. A drawer opening, something moving. Occasionally, what sounded like quiet conversation. But whenever she asked about it, Daniel laughed. "You're imagining things." Months passed, then years. The mystery remained. Emily's curiosity slowly turned into concern. One evening, she jokingly asked for a tour of the room. Daniel's smile disappeared instantly. For a brief moment, his face changed. It wasn't anger. It wasn't fear. It was something else. Something darker. Then the smile returned. But Emily noticed. And from that moment forward, she couldn't stop thinking about it. Why would a husband hide a single room from his wife? What could possibly be inside? As time went on, Daniel became increasingly protective of the room. He changed the lock twice. He carried the key everywhere. Sometimes Emily would wake up in the middle of the night and discover he wasn't in bed. She would find him downstairs hours later, unable to explain where he had been. The more questions she asked, the more distant he became. And eventually, she stopped asking. Not because her curiosity disappeared, because she was afraid of the answers. Then came the day everything changed. It happened on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Daniel left for work earlier than usual. Emily stayed home. She spent the morning cleaning, doing laundry, organizing shelves. Nothing unusual. Around noon, she walked upstairs carrying a basket of clothes. As she passed the locked room, something caught her attention. The door was slightly open. Only an inch, but open. For the first time in 3 years, Emily stopped. Her heart immediately began racing. Daniel never left that door unlocked. Never. At first she walked away. Then she stopped halfway down the hallway, turned around, and went back. The room was dark. Dust floated through narrow beams of sunlight. Emily slowly pushed the door open. The first thing she noticed was how ordinary it looked. No treasure, no secret laboratory, no obvious signs of danger. Just shelves, boxes, cabinets, a desk. For a moment, she felt ridiculous. Maybe it really was storage. Maybe she had spent years imagining something that wasn't there. Then she saw the wall, and everything changed. Hundreds of photographs covered it. Not family photographs, not vacation memories. Photographs of people. Strangers, men, women, children. Each picture had notes attached beside it. Dates, addresses, personal details. Some photos were years old. Others appeared recent. Emily stared in disbelief. What was this? Why would her husband collect information about strangers? Then she recognized one face. A woman from their neighborhood. Someone she had spoken to only days earlier. Emily's stomach dropped. This wasn't a hobby. This wasn't normal. Something was terribly wrong. Her hands trembled as she opened a drawer. Inside were dozens of notebooks, each carefully organized, each filled with observations, descriptions, schedules, daily routines, names, phone numbers, personal information. The entries stretched back nearly 10 years, long before Daniel met her, long before they were married. Emily felt cold. The deeper she looked, the worse it became. Then she found a locked metal box. Unlike everything else, this box wasn't hidden. It sat openly on the desk, as if Daniel assumed nobody would ever enter the room. Key was taped underneath. Emily opened it. Inside were newspaper clippings, missing person reports, crime investigations, old articles, and several photographs of Daniel. Photographs taken from a distance, as if someone had been watching him. Suddenly, the story became even stranger. Because now it appeared Daniel wasn't just observing people. Someone had once been observing him too. Emily heard a car outside. Her heart nearly stopped. Daniel wasn't supposed to be home. Panicking, she quickly returned everything exactly as she found it. Then she left the room and closed the door. Minutes later, Daniel entered the house. He looked nervous, more nervous than she'd ever seen him. Without saying hello, he walked upstairs. A few seconds later, she heard the door slam shut. Silence followed. Then footsteps. Fast footsteps. Daniel came downstairs. His face was pale. "Did you go into the room?" The question came without warning. Emily froze. For several seconds neither spoke. Finally, she answered, "Yes." Daniel closed his eyes, as if he had been expecting this day for years. Then he said something she never expected. "I can explain everything." For the next 2 hours, Daniel told her a story she could hardly believe. Years earlier, before they met, Daniel had worked with a private security company. Unofficially, the company specialized in tracking dangerous individuals, people involved in fraud, human trafficking, organized crime. Law enforcement couldn't always investigate them directly, so private teams gathered intelligence, collected information, built profiles, the photographs, the notebooks, the records. They weren't trophies. They were investigations, cases, evidence. Daniel had spent years documenting dangerous people, and according to him, some of those people eventually learned his identity. That's why he had been photographed. That's why he kept everything hidden. Because destroying the records could endanger ongoing cases, but exposing them could put both of them at risk. Emily wanted to believe him, but doubts remained. The explanation sounded incredible, almost impossible. Then Daniel showed her something, a hidden compartment beneath the desk. Inside were official documents, identification cards, case reports, letters from investigators. Everything matched his story, every detail. For the first time, Emily realized her husband wasn't hiding a dark secret from her. He was hiding a dangerous past. But the story wasn't over, because 1 week later, someone broke into their house. Nothing was stolen, nothing was damaged, except one thing. The locked room. Every document was gone. Every notebook, every photograph, everything had vanished overnight. Whoever entered knew exactly what they were looking for, and exactly where to find it. Police investigated, but no arrests were made, no evidence was recovered. The room remained empty. Daniel never spoke about it again. Neither did Emily. Yet sometimes she would catch him staring out the window, watching, waiting, as if he expected someone to return. Years later, Emily still thinks about that room, not because of what she found, but because of what she almost believed. For 3 years, she imagined monsters, affairs, crimes, secrets. The truth turned out to be far more complicated, because sometimes the people we love carry burdens they can't explain. Not because they don't trust us, but because they fear what might happen if the truth gets out. And sometimes the scariest door in the house doesn't hide evil. It hides a story we've never been told, a story waiting for the day the lock finally opens. And for Emily, that day changed everything. Because when she opened her husband's locked room, she didn't discover who he was. She discovered who she thought he was, had never been the full story at all. The room was locked for 3 years, but the truth behind it had been hidden for much longer.